Oh, he is. Good friend of the program, CBS 58 chief meteorologist Drew Burgoyne on the show. Drew, good to hear from you, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to visit with you guys. And, man, it has been delicious when it comes to this weather around here, eh?
It's perfect, Drew. I mean, does it get tiresome for you to say, wow, another perfect day in Milwaukee tomorrow? It's going to be in the 60s and 70s in October with some sunshine.
Heck no. We will take this. We were just talking about this, Sam, Rebecca, and I, in the weather office today, and it's just like, it's been so choice, so nice. I mean, we've had, we do get a severe weather season at times in the fall, but I mean, we could use rain. I mean, on a serious note, I mean, that's important, but otherwise, cool mornings, warm afternoons. I mean, so far, September, let's be honest. I mean, it was a complete extension of summer. And we had tons of 80s, one of the warmest Septembers on record. Right now for the year, Milwaukee is tied going into today for the warmest start to the year on record. I say start because obviously, we still have a little bit to go. But, all in all, this October has been, so far, it's been really nice.
When there's really no weather phenomenon to talk about, what are you guys doing in the weather center? Are you hacky-sacking? Are we preparing slides for winter blizzards? Are we, I don't know, drawing? Like, what goes on when you have a beautiful stretch of weather like this and everything is kind of like, all right,
A lot of NFL gambling.
Nice.
That's what we do, too.
Here, too, yeah.
Yeah, the office is full of a bunch of degenerates, So we actually do some picks. But, a lot of it's stats. You have to be creative.
Sure.
And Rebecca's great with stats. Sam is kind of like the stat queen. Some random factoid, types of things that are fun to bring up, and but it also allows some more personality too. I mean, sometimes when there's a lot of weather and you don't get a ton of time, you feel like you're just rushing through things and blah 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 blah. And people are like, "Man, you rushed through all that, or you gave us all the stats, but I don't even know how to prepare for tomorrow." So it kind of allows you to settle down a little bit. For me, I'm back out on the road doing school visits, so I do my Tornado Ready school visits. You guys obviously know some of the experiments that I brought to your station. So we'll get back out, to see probably 8,000 kids, about 40 schools. So I'm just starting to ramp that up, which is so much fun. I love it.
I know, probably rare. Was that something that could still happen this time of year around here, Drew, with a tornado, or is it very low probability?
The way the pattern is right now, I would say, yeah, probably. But we had recently in October where we had a front that came through. There was a bunch of wind shear, and we had all of these mini tornadoes, on like October 12th. So it's definitely not out of the question, but looking at, the pattern as a whole, we have just been so quiet. It's just the way the upper level winds have set up. We've had a lot of high pressure, and there just hasn't been a lot of moisture across our area. So probably not seeing a whole lot with the severe weather season this fall.
Now, how come it doesn't matter? It's without fail every end of September, beginning of October, that whatever day I choose to put up my Halloween decorations is when it starts raining or it's windy or I put some up over the weekend and the wind started whipping around. I was like, okay, what's happening, Drew? Why?
Yeah, because Mother Nature hates you. I mean, cut the crap. That's what's going on, right?
True. So true.
I don't know. You're an asset to me. Please let me know when you do these things so I can factor that in the forecast.
There you go.
And then that works.
Yeah, I was going to set up some this Sunday, and then I saw nothing but little winds in the forecast. So there goes that.
I know. Well, you know what? That means you can do other things and not have to worry about it.
We're talking with CBS 58 chief meteorologist Drew Burgoyne. Obviously, perfect weather here, and we were talking earlier on the air, Drew, that it's gorgeous here, quiet,
right.
Not a cloud in the sky, and crazy to think that south in Florida, completely different story with Hurricane Milton coming in. If you know family or friends or anybody or somebody traveling there that's been trying to get out of there and whatnot, I mean, what's the latest on the hurricane about to hit landfall tonight? And these things are, I mean, you're a meteorologist, so kind of hard you do your best to predict, but from what I've been reading, like hurricanes can change at any time, or you just never know what's going to happen, and often the worst is after the fact.
Well, and there's a variance and by the way, I mean, some of the smartest minds in the world, forecasters, work for the National, Hurricane Center, and I mean, obviously that's their forte. I don't have that type of experience, but what I do know is that there is a variance on the track, and they are very open about that, where, you could see a 20-mile range, and you may say, well, how? That's not accurate. Yeah, but, hurricanes, especially big hurricanes, tend to wobble, and so there will be a variance. So there's a chance that, maybe this stays a little bit south of Tampa where they don't see the storm surge, maybe over 10 feet. It's not to say they probably won't see an 8 to 10 foot storm surge, but, maybe that hits Sarasota, and that's where, that's where the worst is going to be. But right now, I mean, Milton's a Category 3 hurricane. Winds are still gusting around 150 miles an hour. The storm surge, whenever this makes landfall late this evening, maybe closer to 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit later, we're still going to see a storm surge in many areas in that direct path of probably 8 to 13 feet. I mean, just think about that. Stand outside your house. Let's say an average person, let's say you're 6 foot. I mean, imagine doubling your height and going up to the house and thinking that's how high the water would be.
It's crazy.
That's just insane. Those strong winds that gust, 150 miles an hour push that water, and there's so much force creating, basically this big wave, if you will, of flooding water. It's devastating, and it looks like that's probably going to be the case. It did weaken somewhat today. There's some dry air and some wind shear. Those are two things that hurricanes, don't like. But think about this. It was a tropical storm, and within 24 hours, it jacked up to a Category 5 hurricane. I mean, that just shows you how warm the Gulf of Mexico is.
Now, talk to me about the eye of this hurricane, because I've read some stuff about Milton's eye, that it's like, for how big it is, it's crazy how powerful this storm is. Or I don't know if I have that correlation correct from what I've said, but maybe this it started on a tropical storm, and then the eye exploded and it became a bigger hurricane. I don't know what's accurate or what's real, but what does that have to do with the strength of the storm, Drew?
Well, a very well-defined eye, is an indication that the storm is very balanced, and right around that eye, that's where the most intense winds are occurring. And a lot of times these major hurricanes can go through what we call eye wall replacement, where the eye weakens, the storm kind of recycles, it regenerates, and then it gets stronger. We saw that happen within the last 24 hours, where the eye looked like it wasn't as defined, and then it went through that replacement, and then you saw this defined eye again. And so if everything's in balance and there's not a lot of wind shear to shear it apart, or, there's not dry air to weaken it, that's what's kept this thing going. So thankfully it has weakened somewhat, but I mean, whether it's a Category 3 or a Category 4 hurricane, I mean, the bottom line is it's still going to create, just devastating impacts. With, by the way, in an area that just got hammered. Mm-hmm. This is, it's not unheard of. People I've seen say, well, this is moving a different way. There's no way. Just stop. Just stop with the stuff. I mean, there's been so much misinformation that's put out. While typically we don't see the majority of them move this way, there's plenty that have been documented that move in this direction. Nobody is creating these things. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
It's you bang your head against the wall because I don't know. It's just gotten so out of control. So, the Gulf of Mexico is super, super warm, and the conditions were favorable, and that's why you saw this thing explode into a monster. It's happened before, and it will absolutely happen again.
I'm glad you talked about misinformation. Earlier this week, Borna and I were discussing what the Farmer's Almanac said about Wisconsin winter, and it said it's either going to be colder than usual or not as cold as usual, which is very helpful.
I mean, geez.
Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah.
What say you about the Farmer's Almanac? And I guess there's two versions of them. Which one is more accurate, or is it just a bunch of hooey?
Here's the problem with the Farmer's Almanac. The folks that developed this, they won't give away how they do it. And so for people who are scientists, and I'm not saying it's not right at times. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I know meteorologists in general have a problem with that, because it's like, well, tell us what you're doing. Tell us how you're coming to this conclusion. What we do know is the La Nina is going to be most likely developing over the next couple of months, and a typical La Nina pattern for us in the winter, would mean colder and, possibly, snowier than, let's say, an El Nino pattern, warmer and, possibly wetter. So, I think right now, the way things are, shaping up, we're probably going to be, looking at a more of a normal winter. I mean, last winter was super warm. I remember skiing with my kids on slush at Alpine Valley, like every Friday. It was wild.
Mm-hmm. All right, normal winter from Drew. Book it. You just heard it. So take that to we're going to hold you accountable to that all year, or all winter, Drew.
That's good.
Drew, we appreciate the time. We'll be watching to this evening and tonight, CBS 58. Thanks for the time, and we'll check in soon. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Always appreciate it.
All right, that's Drew Burgoyne from CBS 58 on 102.9 The Hog, and he's talking about, you imagine a wave crashing down on your house. Luckily, we don't have that here, but you still need strong windows when it comes to keeping your heat inside your home, heating your home, opening windows, closing windows. You ever test drive your windows? Make sure they open and close properly? Probably not. Do that. You might need to call the experts at Window Nation, because the windows are all that they do. 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. Right now, take advantage of buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years.
And we just talked about the beautiful stretch of weather that we're having. So what better time to get work done on your home if you've been thinking about it? Now's the time to go ahead and call Window Nation. This is a great deal. Buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free, plus pay nothing, no interest for 2 full years. And if you happen to stumble upon a better deal, which we're confident you won't, they will price match and give you an additional $200. Call 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com. Schedule your free, no obligation consultation. And when you do, let them know you heard it from Borna and Mandy on 102.9 The Hog.
Get connected. Open up your app store.